Thank you all for joining me in today's journey into and with resilience. Not the resilience that I have that's more important than the resilience that you have. This resilience thing, this quality, this grace, this talent, I propose to you that we all have within us. What I'm offering you today and in each and every episode is just a reset perspective on this present moment. Not the last one, not the next one. It's this one. Now, about a couple of days ago, I had introduced to you a concept and a construct, almost like a marriage or a convergence of two books that are now taking this 820 enterprise into a different realm for me. Obviously, every 820 episode has an essence, a birth vessel, if you will, in my book, Resilience, the Beauty of Presence. About a few days ago, maybe a week ago, as I mentioned to you before, I learned that from the book, The Three Magic Words from Mr. U.S. Anderson, where this quest I had for decades about the essence, the construct, the physiology, the molecular content, the nascence of thought. And in that book, in black and white, it answered my question of many, many decades in searching. That we, yes, you and I, or neither you nor I, actually think. We are bombarded each day and each moment with thousands of images, sounds, people, noises, sometimes silence, sometimes peace, doors barking, birds flying, cars speeding, maybe you speeding in your car. But we get a lot of images every day. You don't create those. You don't create images or people or events or movies for you to then entertain yourself with, or maybe even to educate yourself with. These things are being broadcasted to you. You don't think them. They come to you. All you can do is having that infrastructure, meaning something about you is attuned or aware or interested in something out there. That pretty lady, that fancy car, that big house, that big paycheck, better clothes, a better body for you. These things feed in or siphon or, what's that word? Sieve out or sift out things that are not important to you. And what drips through that sieve, that's the thought that comes to you, but you didn't think it. You had to cut through the chaff to get to what's important to you. So that lead-in is tied into this new marriage or convergence of the book, Resilience, the Beauty of Presence, and a book I wrote about 27 years ago called A Little Deception Among Friends. It was a book of collected poems that I wrote for maybe a decade prior to that, in the 80s. But then I compiled them in this book called A Little Deception Among Friends. So as I said earlier, now these two books, these two tomes I put together, not for any publicity or New York Times bestseller candidacy. No, I was just putting down what I thought were my thoughts, but they're just my observations of what was interesting to me. In this case, with the second book, A Little Deception Among Friends, the outline or the initial description of that book, a collection of poems, was described by myself in the title as original, spiritual, written music. Now keep in mind, I was no way even considering being a trumpet musician back then in 98. But somehow the words that I was writing for personal purposes or for business, I saw my writing and my observations being put like pen to paper or fingers to computer keys as, I guess, my music. How the words flowed to me, into me, and out of me onto that surface, either pencil and paper or on a computer. That was my music, because back then I had limited musical capability or acumen. Even today, it's still questionable. I'm still developing it. But now I have a sincere quest and desire to become a musician. But back then, I had none of that. Yet, that book, A Little Deception Among Friends, was introduced as original, written, spiritual music. So the title was A Little Deception Among Friends, but also the subtagline was a short story conversation. A short story conversation. So each entry in the book, each poem, was representative of a short story conversation. Now, I spelled the word story a little differently. A short story was spelled S-T-O-U-R-Y. Small letters, S-T, capital letters, O-U-R, small letter, Y. Our story. Not just a short story, our story in this conversation. So, as I start feeding in to these episodes going forward, I will start introducing you to certain topics or certain poem titles that contribute to or complement the resilience topic for the day. So that's what is I'm alluding to as the marriage or the convergence of these two separate books written separate times, but one precedes everything I've been speaking on and writing about for the past 3 years. That book, a poetry book, if you will, that will serve as a precursor and maybe adding more context to why this 820 enterprise, why the book Resilience, to be your presence. More of the substrate substance of why this is important to me and where it came from that I did not create. I just was lucky enough to be able to observe, document, write down, and start to remember not the why, the what and who, and what drives me to be what and who I am. Pay attention, stay present, stay current, and stand by for the convergence of a little deception among friends and resilience. Until next time, it is always 820.